name's Kalm, the guy on the bike. Welcoming our worldwide viewership back for another half-ass production, and today we're coming to you from the new museum on the Bowery. We're going to take a visit and look at a show by Brion Gyson titled Dream Machine.
Good morning.
Oh, there's Valery Oisteanu.
Yes, for Brion Gyson.
You a fan?
The most
You a fan?
psychedelic artist in the world that I love very much, and
Really?
I still love him. But you can't see this art without being on drugs. If you see it on an empty stomach and without drugs, you don't understand most of it. So I don't suggest, and I don't make propaganda, but get yourself some psychedelics and come down to New
You didn't
Museum.
bring any for me?
No, I'm so.
Come on, Valery, come
not for the
on, okay.
press preview.
It's Laura Hoptman,
We
the
need
curator of the
psychotropic.
show.
Please speak here. Can everyone hear us? Welcome to Brion Gyson Dream Machine. It's really great to see many of you. Welcome members of the press and also friends of Brion Gyson. I know that we have a few in the audience. After a life that produced art, poetry, performances, and all permutations thereof, Brion Gyson was sure that he would be forgotten. Even though he died broke and pretty much alone in a small apartment in Paris in 1986, now 24 years after Brion Gyson's death, he's more present than ever. This exhibition marks the first time that Brion Gyson's visual arts achievements and experiments are presented in full in the United States. The show is divided into sections centered around Gyson's major works, beginning in 1958 when he moved to Paris and took up residence in the famous Beat Hotel on the left bank, and began what would be a lifelong friendship and collaborative partnership with William Burroughs.
Talking to Laura Hoptman here. I got a simple question. What is it that makes him sort of relevant now? Why now?
Right now, his idea of the cut-up is very much, it's almost paradigmatic of the way that we process information now in the age of the internet.
And his work with the computer at the beginning.
Well, I mean, those things are prescient, and also artists are always interested, we're all interested in getting out of ourselves and getting out of our head. This notion of being the extraordinary psychonaut and giving us a way to look into our own heads without taking drugs is pretty amazing, the dream machine, in other words. But I think the cut-up is really the thing that makes his thinking forward.
Do you also think that people are taking, reappraising the whole beat movement now and sort of taking a second look at that?
You know, I would say yes, but aren't they always reappraising the beat movement? I mean, haven't these guys
Because
always
that's
been
part of it.
Subcultural heroes since the beginning?
It is. It's sort of the proto-hippies, the proto-hipsters. Thanks, Laura.
Enjoy the show.
I will. Well, now Brion Gyson is a pretty interesting, pretty unique character, and he is not well known except among people that are kind of aficionados of the beat generation. Now, these are just pages from sketchbooks, but everything is pretty much based on a grid. And now I'm sort of thinking about Warhol and his grids of Coke bottles and Marston coffee cans. In his own kind of odd, eccentric way, he was very influential. Here's the Dream Machine. Evidently, this was based on a turntable set at 78 RPM, and it's got a cylinder with holes cut in there and a light bulb on the inside. Eight units of a permutated picture, 1961. We'll take a little walk down this. Well, some of these have examples of his use of rollers, and sometimes they were cut rollers, so they would lay down patterns almost like a plaid. And that was another kind of innovative thing that he was doing. This is Ivy, 1959. this is fun. He's got a piece where he's cut out patterns. It's untitled 1961. I think that's William Burroughs' voice in the background.
So these are pages from
From
the
Third Mind,
in which they discover that the words and the images are viruses, and they
Viruses?
exactly, and they produce different. They multiply
permutations.
and they multiply into different words and images. So virus creates another virus, mutates. The words as virus, they mutate. You know, words of present, shape of present, the words of the presect of the present of the shape. So the shapes and the words are sort of multiplying just like viruses.
And these are the actual pages that he worked on, and the collage elements.
This is page 130.
He collaborated with Burroughs on these?
Yes, he did. Basically, he
there is
gifted to
Burroughs.
Burroughs the cut-up methods, the methods of cutting up and putting it on the page, different things, photos, his philosophical ideas, his geometrical ideas, etc., etc. And in this book, they really created this universal theory of the viruses that infect our knowledge.
Our language.
And our language and our knowledge. It's coming from Dada. The first one to come with the theory was Tristan Tzara. He said Dada is a virus that goes into your brain and occupies the places where the logical and straight element did not damage you.
Well, what do you think about his relationship to people like Rauschenberg and some of maybe the California assemblage artists? Because a lot of this was going on at the same time. Although
Not really.
he brings into it a kind of a linguistic and poetry aspect to it.
He's ahead of it because he combines the visual and the oral. He combines the literary and the paintings together. His viruses are sort of combination of visual virus and literary virus.
This is by Joseph Moore, permutation program running 8 poems by Brion Gyson, 2010. Recalling all active agents, calling all active agents, calling active agents. Here's some of his performance scripts.
So we gave him a bit more respect.
This relates to people like Lilizano and Alan Capro, Robert Fullon. Well, this is titled Calligraffiti from 1985.
This is his last work.
Last work.
It's called Calligraffiti. And it's 1985.
And this has got to be, what, 50 feet long?
The influence goes to Henri Michaud, who was experimenting with
mescaline, yes.
and did similar kind of
hallucination-induced
drawings,
scribbles and drawings.
Yeah, scribbles, exactly.
Right. Well, this is a multi-screen projection here.
Four screen.
Reciting some poetry in the background.
And look how it's done. One is direct, and 1, 2, 3 are through.
Oh, they've got them reversed.
The mirror, through reverse. Yeah.
Reflecting them off mirrors. That's interesting. I guess that sort of goes along with his idea of chopping things up, flipping them over, putting them back together again. So this is James Kalm coming to you from the new museum and the press preview for Brion Gyson, Dream Machine. Thanks, Kate.